one of the biggest hardship that I experienced is kind of like identity crisis, because I positioned myself as a photographer for the last 10 years, and now realizing that, wait a minute, this is not what I want, or I don't just want to be known for this, like what the title is like. And now what? Now that you've have this dream and you've achieved it, is it only meant for you, or is it meant to serve others? Because for me, if it's only meant for me, then it's pointless.
Today's guest is Noah Asanias. Born and raised in Philippines, moved to North America to pursue photography. His work is mostly recognized for studio photography with very clean and elegant lighting. In the past, he has worked with personalities like McCarthy, Dornan, commercial clients like Netflix, Nickelodeon, AllSaints, Aritzia, and publications like Numéro, theWrap, Elle, and more. Please welcome to the insanely talented Noah Asanias.
Hey.
Hi.
Thanks for having me in the show.
Thank you so much for being here. Did I say your name correctly?
You did. It's funny because not a lot of people can.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I tried to Google it and I'm like, I cannot find it. So I'm just gonna ask
That
you.
was good.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Before we dive into your professional career, I'd love to go back to your childhood and understand how life in the Philippines looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I just got back from Philippines, so my mind is really fresh from what life is like there, and it's very different from the life here in North America. For one, the only photographer that I know growing up is this one lady that only comes on weddings. She would shoot whatever's happening in the wedding, and after that, she would sell the prints outside the church. So my perspective of photography before is that. What else? Things in Philippines is a lot more simple, in a way that I kind of forgot about it since I haven't been home for a while. But it was simple. Your needs are met more than your wants, which I think is very different from North America. And you know your neighbors and your friends and your neighbors. Like everybody just knows everybody. I grew up in a small town as well in the countryside, so yeah. And then I remember walking to school. We all walk together. The kids that are around the same age as mine, so it's that kind of small. So yeah.
But that's interesting because I was thinking about like how could you discover photography in a place where you don't even see real photographers or you don't meet them.
Yeah.
How did it happen for you?
Yeah, so originally I wanted to be a scientist or an astronaut because at least in my town, that's what everybody wants. I went to university in Manila, which is the main city of Philippines, and I did fine arts advertising back then, so my career was going to go for the art direction. I worked for Ogilvy for a lot of international big ad agency, Ogilvy, Saatchi. And then at the time, I was the one hiring photographers. And this is when my world kind of opens in photography. There are only few big commercial photographers and fashion photographers in the Philippines, and we've hired some of them in our projects. And I remember at the time when I was art director, I've always been jealous with their life. It's because of the lifestyle that they have. Like they probably work, I don't know, at max 2-3 times a week. And the rest of the week, they were able to enjoy what they love to do other than work or photography. And yes, like photography is, people say like if you love what you do, you never work for your life. And yes, that's true. But also there's also a sense of the practicality of photography where we do have to work. We do have to do things that we probably don't enjoy, especially in the beginning. But to answer the question, it started with my background as an art director.
Do you remember that moment when you realized that, wait, there's something going on with photography here?
It's actually not until I came to Canada in 2013 when I came here for my sister's wedding. And during that time, I was kind of lost and didn't know what I wanted to do. And then while I was here with my parents, probably the last week of my stay here for a month, my dad asked me if I wanted to stay. And I said, like, yeah, can I stay for, at this time I was still working. Can I stay for maybe one more month? So I notify my boss and whatnot that I'm staying. And in that time, I met a photographer that I really respect in town who's a food and headshot photographer. And then I asked him if I could just shadow him. I'll work for free. I just want to shadow you and learn what the life of a photographer is like. And then because of that, I was really influenced more and more in photography. I never had a camera until I was 18, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, or yeah, I think it was 18. Anyway, through that, I met another photographer who was going in a photography school in Vancouver, and I asked more questions, and I become more interested in photography. And then I decided, I remember calling my dad and my boss saying that, hey, like I would probably want to stay in Vancouver for a little bit more. I found a school here that I really wanted to go and try to pursue photography. And another reason why I needed to find a school, by the way, is that that's the only way for me to stay longer in Vancouver is to get a student visa. At first, I wasn't sure if I'm gonna pursue it afterwards after school, but on how things align, it just somehow worked out, I guess. So it wasn't all luck. There's definitely a lot of like strategically meeting people and positioning yourself for that career.
I just like how you were mentioning the part when you came here to study because that's how you can stay here. And probably you can also start working. You can also work if you study, right? Or what was your visa situation?
Time that I went to Canada is the hardest time to migrate here. So I am not allowed to work. So that's another thing, financial, I guess, hit that I got. I was lucky enough that my parents were generous enough to lend me or give me money to pursue it for a year. But yeah, but I couldn't work. And I was too afraid to accept any under the table because I didn't want to screw up in case I wanted to stay here. So yeah, so no work at the time. I was doing remote work though. I was because my background is graphics and I do know retouching, so I was accepting clients from all over the world for that, and that worked fine. So
It's just so interesting to hear that because there are so many photographers even here in Vancouver and they have the advantage of living here. And for you, you had to work so much to even get to the point that you're able to work here now. And can you just like describe that feeling and the journey of getting that visa and figuring out that finally
yeah.
I can I can do this?
So I guess let me start with a question of kind of like the difference and the advantage of people that were born here, maybe not born here. I was talking to a friend of mine who was also an immigrant. Well, he kind of grew up here. We were saying that immigrants ha- have this perseverance to or an endurance to keep going to pursue what we want because we like it so much that we would give up anything for it. And I think, in a sense, that was my advantage compared to other photographers that were starting at the time, around the same time that I was. I've seen a lot of them that after 2, 3 years, they're not shooting anymore. It's because of various reasons. One of them, I'm pretty sure, is the business plan or the business, how they set up their business. Another reason is maybe they just got bored with it or find how hard it is. But talking about visa, um, I didn't get my work visa until 2016, I think. When I actually got my work visa through my wife. So I got married. I was already gonna start working for Aritzia. But then I got married first before that, and then everything kind of just worked out through that. But still, I think being an immigrant, not because you have the passport to work here, let's say, or a visa to work here, means that everything will be a lot easier. Um, that being said, I don't mean to say that it's easy when you're born here. I think everyone has different struggles, but I think it is different when you don't know anybody when you move in a city, for better and for worse. So yeah.
And what was your strategy of getting to know more people? Because you just mentioned before that you started strategically networking.
Yeah. So while I was in 2013, I was in photography school. I I was in an event in Holt Renfrew, I think. And then I met this older lady that told me a strategy. And she said, like, it's a LinkedIn strategy. She's a LinkedIn specialist. She said, before you connect with the person you want to connect, find someone in their network that is closer to you. Connect with that person before you, and then you connect with the person that you want. So this point of reference to the person that you want. And that's kind of how I did my strategic planning and who I wanted to connect with. And whenever you connect, you wanted to offer something, not take something. And it has to be real. People can smell it a mile away if you want something from them. It has to be coming in a place like, no, I just want to help or I just want to connect. There's nothing I want from you. And naturally, it would go through you, them helping you back or you helping them back. Another thing that I did early in 2015 14, I think, I was listening to the podcast. I don't remember what it is, but the challenge was to meet one new person every single week. Someone that you haven't met before, or someone that you haven't connected for a long time. And for me, I took the challenge to heart and I actually up it to two people a week. I started with my network, asking people like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. Just want to connect, so and so." And then I explained to them what I'm doing, and then they connected me to other people that they thought might be interesting in meeting. And with this meeting, it's not about work. It's literally just getting to know somebody and see how can you be an asset to them. But yeah, so I think that's how I started.
I just like how collaborative you are because, I experienced it on my, I experienced it because I worked with you.
Yeah.
I hired you. And, during that experience, what stood out is that you are so caring. You are there for your clients. You offer a very high-end service. Can you talk about it? Because I haven't really experienced this in the past. I worked with several photographers, but you just have everything under control and you make sure that your clients are not stressed about anything.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. So my service in photography is a lot higher than most photographers. And because of that, I consider it as a premium service. It's kind of like the term white glove. For example, you go to a Rolex store and they're wearing white gloves. They don't need to wear the gloves, but it gives you the feeling that it's elevated, right? And for me, if someone is paying the amount that I'm charging, then they better feel that they're taken care of. People buy based on emotion more than logic. So if they can feel that you care for them, and you should from the very beginning, that would translate a lot, and they would hopefully remember that every client is important to you. Everyone is different. And another one is, as a business owner, people hire you because they have a problem. And they're hiring you because you are the solution to the problem. And you have to make it as easy as possible to the client. For me, for photography, from finding like what we did, from finding hair, makeup, to stylist, to location, to knowing what you want, all has to be streamlined. And that's one thing that I worked on in my business throughout the years, is how can I streamline everything so the client can just come to me and then that's all that they have to do. Yeah, it took a while to develop that system, I think, and understanding. And there's definitely some more room to improve it, but yeah. So I'm happy to hear that you enjoyed it.
Of course, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All the people you gathered, everyone is so talented in what they do. Like, shout out to Sarah. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
one of my new favorite person in Vancouver.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
What stood out that we had this conversation and I asked you, why do you offer these people? Why do you work with these people? And you said, it's because that's how I can provide the same how do you say?
Like output or product.
Output, product. What? Yes. So when I take a look at your Instagram feed, you are only able to provide me that service and that quality. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, definitely. Like for me, the people that I work behind the camera are very important, because they are the one who helped me achieve the level of work that I can produce. So, for example, I have a few inquiries before that would have asked, like, oh, can I use someone else? And I would look at their work and it's not up to my style or the standard that I want, then I would say no. And unfortunately, sometimes I would have to say no to the client because of that, because I will not be able to deliver what they're hiring me for if the required skill is not on the team. So yeah, so I definitely rely a lot to my team.
And you know what, like if there's a picture that a client can see and your name is under it, tag that you took that picture, and it's not something that you're like happy about, that's just gonna ruin your reputation, or not ruin, but
Yeah, it would trickle down. Definitely. Like I would not put out anything that I'm not proud of. There's another thing that I learned early on. I forgot. I was just reading a book about this. I think it was I forgot who the author is, but the title of the book is Fast Lane Millionaire, something like that. And he was talking about money and how your goal shouldn't be to make money, because if your goal is genuinely to solve problems, money would come later on. And I've seen a lot of people have done that in their career or business, and it's definitely true, I think. And that's what I've been trying to do with my career, at least as a photographer.
I know that your father is a businessman.
He is.
Yes. Can you talk about him? Because you get a lot of this business sense from him, or at least that's what I sense.
Yeah.
Can you talk about him?
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, my family business is a pharmacy chain in Philippines. It's nothing big, but it's enough to sustain the lifestyle that my parents wanted. My parents are still working. Um, so yeah, so when I didn't grow up rich, like we were not very poor, but quite poor at the time. And then my parents opened a pharmacy store. It was one store, trickled to 27 stores. Um, but yeah, but through that, I think my dad, growing up, he has always told me that if you want freedom, you need to have two things: it's the time freedom and the financial freedom. And to be able to attain it, you need to have no ceiling cap in your income. And sometimes the problem is people are able to attain the no ceiling cap, but then they don't have the time freedom, so they can enjoy what they've worked at. And my dad has always put that in me. And then in my understanding of having no cap in my income and having time freedom means I have to develop a business. Although photography does you do trade time for money, I think it's a little different than, and not that anything's wrong with 9 to 5. I would highly suggest everyone to do 9 to 5 to learn what they have to do as an employee, so you understand when you start having an employee. But for me, for example, as a photographer, like there's a lot I can charge the way I want to charge and convince people that it's worth what they wanted. Because I never wanted to be hired based on my price. I always want to be hired based on my style. But going back to the lesson that my dad taught me, I think that it influenced me a lot. And then, like, I don't know, most people probably don't know that I also run a retouching company. And that's another reason, not just for the money, but also to help other communities. Like, we're trying to help um, Filipinos right now so they don't have to go somewhere else and work and be away from their family. But to go back in the question, that's one of the things that I really learned early on from my dad is to have a business because that's the way to freedom. Yes, there's more risk in it, but I think anything in life, you the more risk you put, the more reward you get. So
Yeah, but what about, because you're talking about not having a cap or a limit, but most people, they're adding their own limit or creating their own limit that they are cannot really just overcome. It's interesting that you probably never had that.
I did. I definitely did. I think I've tried to surround myself with people that are way better than me. And by me trying to do that, I don't wait for it to passively happen. Like I look for people, and if I think or I believe that I can learn something from them, then I really try to put an effort to build that relationship, whether it's trying to meet once a week or monthly or whatever that might mean. So I constantly try to put that effort. Um, Unfortunately, we can't do that with everybody because it's like someone told me this analogy of a power bar where there's only enough outlet in a power bar, and for you to plug someone else, you need to unplug something else. And sometimes, unfortunately, that has to be done in building a relationship. But yeah, but definitely, I'd never had that. I didn't always have that mindset. I think it's something that I tried to develop.
And you know, when I'm take a look at your portfolio, the first thing that comes to my mind is like how like you see all of these really famous, well-known celebrities. How did you get to them, or can you talk about that process of building that client base?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of history about me. I thought I was going to be a fashion photographer. Something happened during my career that I couldn't pursue that because of a contract that I signed, and then that kind of pivoted me to doing more portraits. Around the time that I couldn't pursue fashion photography, there was this lady that I met that really helped me in my career. She was from LA. I used to submit she was an editor for a magazine. I used to submit my editorials to her. I found out that she was in Vancouver. I think I found out through another friend that introduced me to her magazines, I think, or in her Instagram. I saw it. And I keep bugging her. It's like, hey, let's meet for coffee. Let's meet for coffee. And finally we did. And then during that, when we met, immediately I felt close to this person. I felt like she's my sister. And then as kind of like our relationship grew, she found out the situation that I couldn't work for a fashion brand because of this contract for the next 2 years. And so she started asking me questions like, why don't you start shooting actors? And at the time, it's like, yeah, like, I don't know if that's what I want. Anyway, one day she came to me and said that she wanted to learn photography. And I said, yeah, just come in my studio. Feel free to use it. I can teach you lighting. Just bring the talent. And the talent that she started bringing are leads from TV shows. So I started to want to say, okay, like, what the heck? Like, who's this person? And I didn't even know who these actors are. It's the hair and makeup team that was telling me who these actors are. And then through that, um, we become really close friends, like siblings now. And then she asked me again, why don't you pursue portrait photography? I said, well, to be honest, like I've tried to reach out to acting agency here, and they didn't like my style. At least at the time, they didn't like my style. But then what she did that I can never repay for, I think, is she started introducing me to all her contacts in the States. So I was flying to LA trying to meet everybody. She would take me to meetings, introduce me. I would stay in their couch in their house, and then through that, I think I was able to develop a rapport to a lot of actors and their managers and their publicists and agents. Yeah, and then I in LA they have this, they call my lighting the Queen lighting. And I think because that's my style of lighting, especially in the beginning of my career, it's a lighting that kind of makes everyone look good, and the skin is great and whatnot. And because of that, it became really easy for them to trust me that anyone I shoot would look good. But I think the most important part is the experience again. There's a lot of photographers out there that are way better than me. I always say I'm not the best photographer, even in town or anywhere. But the reason why people keep coming back to me is because of the experience and service that I provide. It's not about the shoot, it's about how they feel after the shoot and what are the things that they remember. Would they give you a Google review without you asking, for example? Would they tell their friends, like, hey, had a really great time in shooting with Noah, for example? Or would they tell them, like, yeah, it was a great shot? That's it. You want to be remembered for more than the image that you create. And that's really what I focus on in my business. Yeah.
The more I'm listening to you, I'm understanding that, okay, so you've had all of these support from your family, from this lady who you
Yeah.
mentioned. It's just so amazing that you're also giving it back. What I like about you is that you're doing the same thing. So you just not just accepting that and saying that, oh, this is my privilege
Mhm.
because I'm so amazing, but you're giving it back. You were so helpful when it comes to me.
Yeah.
You're helpful to others, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, thank you. I think it's very important to give back. I think our industry was not built, or you can't survive it by yourself. Um, yeah, it's important to have other people that would grow with you, or they can grow separately, but you're both growing. Um, I was talking to a friend last year, a very successful music producer, and we were talking about how lonely it gets sometimes in a certain position in life because no one understands. And I know it sounds so cliche or first world problem, but no one can really understand the things you were going through. And it's one of the reason I think, self-servingly, I think why it's important to do share information. For me, for photographers, it's very important to share information because that's the way that we can all create an equitable industry, especially with the rates. I'm very open sharing my rates to photographers, both my peers and someone who's new in the industry, because if not, they wouldn't know how to charge, and because of that, then they might undercharge and sell themselves short. And what that means is that's only affecting them; it's only also affecting me. So yeah,
What advice would you give to photographers who would love to have a clientele like yours?
I say work on in my online course that I developed in 2020. The first topic there is internalization, about knowing your relationship with your past, your present, where you want it to be, what are your fears, your relationship with money. I would always recommend everyone to go through that journey before you start any business, not just photography. Because then you would know why you are the way you are. For example, for me, I know why things are important to me and why I need to present myself a certain way. And it's because of what had happened to me in my childhood. Um, Aside from that, is shoot as many as you can and as often as you can in the first year. On the second year, be more strategical in what you shoot. Maybe shoot once a month. Put your money in it. And the next advice that I got from one of my mentor is set aside 35% of your income for your portfolio. Because eventually, if you wanted to get the big clients, you're gonna have to put money to produce that work before you get that work. So yeah, those would be my three things, I think.
And you mentioned coaches or mentors. Do
Yeah.
you have business coaches or mentors in your life?
So consider my there's a few photographers in town and in the States that I would consider my mentor. They've helped me with rates. Some of them we would phone each other when one of us get a email for a project, and we would ask like, hey, what are you quoting for this? So that's what I have in photography wise. I think business wise, before it has been really my parents, my mom and dad. I've learned a lot from them and how they strategize things. Another one is my wife is really great in creating strategy and system. And yeah, I think between my wife and I, my wife is a writer. I think between my wife and I'm more of the let's do it now, and my wife would be like, wait, let's sit down and plan. Which is I think is a perfect combo. So, but yeah, and then books. Right now I'm reading One Thing. I forgot who the author is. Um, I consider some of the authors as I guess I can consider them as my mentor, like Chris Voss from Never Split the Difference. Really good negotiating book, and I would highly recommend it to everyone, whether they're in business or not. So
So you're so much more than a photographer. You also give back a lot to your community.
mhm.
Can you talk about your company?
Yes, so right now, I was like, which one?
Which one?
So right now, I'm focused on LUCI. The website is getluci.co. So LUCI is a retouching company, AI enhanced retouching company. So what it means is we can process images a lot faster. At the moment, we have a few numbers of retoucher, but we're trying to grow our company to about 76, 75 retouchers at the end of the year, which is quite an ambitious goal. But the main reason why we have this company is during my time in Philippines, which is just a few months ago, my wife and I were there, and then we were just there to spend time with family. I grew up in the countryside, so there's nothing much to do in it aside from going to the beach. So we had a lot of free time. At one point, we got bored. I said, okay, what can we do? Okay, let's work on something that has an impact. There's this book that both my wife and I read years ago by Simon Sinek called Start with a Why. Basically, to summarize the book, is anything you build, there has to be a bigger reason why, not just about money, fame, or power. So while we were in Philippines, I was trying to meet with some of my friends that I grew up in this countryside, and they're all either not in the town or not in Philippines anymore. But some of them have kids, for example, and family that are in Philippines. And then I started to remember that most of my friends or the people around me in this community, their parents were never there for them because they parents need to be what we call an OFW or an overseas worker. Means they have to work abroad. And the reason why they go there is not because they wanted to leave, but because there's not enough work in Philippines that would sustain a good lifestyle for the family or that would allow the kids to have a better future by having better education. And that's really one of the reasons why we start pursuing LUCI. We wanted to change that, and we wanted to change it by educating Filipinos at the moment at least, Filipinos, equipping them with a skill that they don't have to leave the country but also make good living. So I've been kind of doing this retouching company for since 2016, but we never really put a name to it or tried to develop as a business. It just came to me because of my photography background. Um, and because of that, in the past, I think it was 2021 when our senior retoucher started making more than what the mayor is making, which we celebrated and we're very proud of that. And we're hoping to have more stories like that in the next few months, hopefully, where we can change at least someone's life. And another reason that we're doing this, and I actually don't like saying to our website that this is what we do, just because I don't like companies that say that things that they're trying to help others without doing anything. But one of the things that the reason why we put it in is because, and I want people to understand what we're trying to do is we're not asking for money. We're trying to provide an equal value for what you're giving. We don't ever want to beg for money. We want to give skills to the community that we're helping, so it's sustainable for them. Because if it's a non-profit company, then we're always going to be asking, it's not sustainable. But if it's for profit, then we can create systems. The whole goal for me and the dream for this is one day we will be able to create a city in a sense that we would create not a physical city, but we will be able to give health insurance for our retouchers, for example. That one day we can open a school in Philippines teaching retouching and other remote skills that we can do, so that they don't have to leave their family and just be in Philippines and have a life together with as a family. Yeah.
You're doing so many things at the same time, and everything requires a lot of creativity. Have you ever burned out?
I actually burnt out last year, I think. And this is before I started to do LUCI. I burnt out in my photography. And the reason I burnt out in my photography is I was working every single day. And at the time, I thought that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a photographer. This is great. I'm shooting every day. My income is great. But then this is what I was saying, that that's why you need to surround yourself and help elevate others. Not until I kind of talked to one of my friends that was going through the same thing, and we were saying like, yeah, it's lonely in this position, and I thought this is what we wanted. I thought we wanted to make a lot of money to pursue what we love, but now we hate what we love. Like I start hating photography to the point that I almost wanted to quit photography again. So what I did is I took a 3 month break, and that's when I tried to, okay, who am I becoming, and what's important to me. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about my company, LUCI, the retouching company, because now what Simon Sinek said, it's not about me anymore. For me, in my head, if I don't pursue this, I would doing a disservice to the people that we will be able to help. And that gives me a fuel to keep going, I think. Yeah, so.
And how is your relationship to photography right now? Because, you had the burnout experience last year. Have you been able to heal that, or?
Yeah, not fully there, I would say. I'm very picky with my client. I choose who I say yes to. Um, I would like to do more of the projects that I want. So my self photography is, I'm known for studio photography, requires a lot of gear. Right now, where I am in life, I don't want any gear. I want to be just me, my camera, and the talent, and that's it. Unfortunately, in the city that we're in Vancouver, that's kind of not doable just because of the weather dependent. But that's one thing I'm working towards too. Um, I think I would always be shooting. I'm still a photographer. I would always be a photographer. I become a lot more picky with the clients that I do, making sure that whatever I do is something that I'm excited about, rather than I'm just doing it because it's automated in my system that I have to keep going. Yeah. So.
I'm just so happy that you're talking about how you burned out,
Mhm.
how you got to the point that you hated what you love. And I'm sure that so many people can relate to that.
Mhm.
And maybe 10 years ago, if someone tells you that this can happen, you would be like, oh, that's stupid. It's
Yeah.
impossible, because you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy that you're talking about this, so people know that it can happen.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong about pivoting. If you do decide to change and that's not what you like anymore, there's nothing wrong with it. I would highly encourage anyone that wanted change to do change, and always welcome change, because it's always going to come to you. I bet that maybe in 2 years I would want to pivot again to where I am. And that, for me, there's something exciting about welcoming change and knowing that there's a change. You're uncomfortable, but with that uncomfortability is also the growth that happens. And hopefully to look back. And for me, those are the times that it's really important to start journaling. It's what you're feeling those times. So when you've had because for me, the biggest hardship, at least that one of the biggest hardship that I experienced, is kind of like identity crisis. Because I positioned myself as a photographer for the last 10 years. And now realizing that, wait a minute, this is not what I want, or I don't just want to be known for this, like what the title is, like. And now what? Now that you've have this dream and you have achieved it, is it only meant for you, or is it meant to serve others? Because for me, if it's only meant for me, then it's pointless. I'm just becoming it's just consumerism for me, and it just becomes all about me. Um, this is photographer that I really like, Jeremy Cowart from the States, very successful photographer. Years ago, he released this video. Basically, the question was, and now what? And then what? Now that he's achieved this level of photography, he's a rock star in his field. And now what? And he decided to build this purpose hotel. where the purpose hotel basically is 100% of the profit goes back to a community that they're helping. And for me, that's very admirable. He's using his platform that he created to help others. And he also started explaining why he built his other business. He built his, I think, university, something like that. It's an online course platform because he wants that when he said, like, imagine all the knowledge that we acquire throughout the years. If we and what happens if we don't pass that? And that's the reason why he built this university so that he can pass it to his not only to his kids, but to everybody in the next generation that's coming. And how much more smarter we would be if we have all the knowledge already that our ancestors have accumulated.
The now what part is, I think it's interesting because you were talking about how other people approach it. And in everyone's story, what I see a pattern as well. That in the beginning, we are trying to prove, we are just doing something because, I found this is going to be great. I'm going to prove everyone that I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you burn out or you experience that maybe it doesn't bring you happiness, but then you start questioning yourself. And probably you also had this experience of like, why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing with my life? Because if this is all, I'm not going to do it because it's not good for others. How can I, or maybe good for others, but how can I help others?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You definitely start to question what you're doing once you achieved it, I think. And again, this is why it's so important to have a bigger purpose than just achieving your dream. But that being said, we do need to have a North Star. We do, especially when you're younger, you want to achieve things because you never had this in life. But also know that it's normal to feel that, I guess, when you reach that part. And hopefully, but by the time you reach that part, you have people around you that understand or have been through the same thing so they can guide you better in what direction you're going.
So one of my teachers explained it, I think, in the best possible way, because he was talking about how after you made it, you had the success that you wanted. Everyone still has this kind of Mount Everest kind of goal,
Mm-hmm.
something that is like too big, it's
Mm-hmm.
huge, and you might gonna go to pursue it, but you're probably just gonna lean back. And I see many people just lean back, do something, live a normal life because that's what they want, and that's completely normal. But for you, what I see in your case is that you have that Mount Everest kind of level goal, and you're just going for it.
Yeah, I mean, what else would we do in life without it, right? So I think my life would be very boring if I'm not trying to achieve anything, especially anything bigger than ourselves. Um, yeah. So, and it's really like what this, I remember this book that I'm reading right now. One thing, it's really a series of small steps taking every day, so you have the momentum um, to do things. And it might be something you're comfortable in the beginning, but if you just keep doing it, you'll develop a habit. Basically, what he was telling is all you need is a first step and to be consistent doing it. So yeah.
And what brings you the most happiness nowadays?
Aside from ice cream, um, what else?
I like that you said ice cream
That's right.
and not your newest camera.
Yeah, I think
I
I'm
love
done
it.
with gears. I think in the last past years, like I've collected way too many gear and realized that I don't need them.
But it's great that you mentioned that we shouldn't care about the gear because it doesn't really matter. You shot a cover
Yeah.
by an iPhone. So
Yeah.
it's
I
like,
think though, like for photographers, in the beginning, we need gear to realize that we don't need gear. Because if you never had it, you always think you need more. So when I meet a photographer and they want to buy gear, it's like, yeah, absolutely, just do it. And then, but know that you won't need it in the future. And I might be wrong, but so far that's what I've noticed in photography. But what makes me happy right now, I really love spending time with my wife. Um, we after we got back from Philippines, we changed our day-to-day structure. So instead of me working in the studio every day, now I try to work at home for the most part. And then through that, we're trying to be to get it's a term for it when you try to do two things at the same time. So stacking. So we're trying to work and be together at the same time. I think it was in her advantage because I bug her a lot while she's writing and I'm just editing or like in a meeting or whatever. I would say that definitely is one thing that definitely brings a lot of joy in my life right now. Um, yeah, for me, and another one is I'm really enjoying the simplicity of things. I think working in entertainment, you can kind of get lost with the lights and shiny objects that comes your way, or the kind of like the prestige that comes with the career. And I think I got tired of that last year, and that's when I started doing a lot of internalization. So yeah, so what definitely gives me joy is the simplicity of life. Meeting stranger for me is an essential part, and this is the reason why I wanted to travel more. Because I think when you meet a stranger, you can be fully honest, or you can reinvent yourself. Because there's no responsibility after that. So if you want to be someone, you met a stranger, you tell them who you are aspiring to be, and hopefully because you said it, then that would inspire you to pursue more of that. So yeah, I don't mean to don't lie, but for example, let's say you are a photographer in student photography. Tell them that you are a photographer, or tell them that you're an aspiring fashion photographer, and then through saying it, this is definitely how I internalize. Through saying it makes me take action to it.
Yeah,
um,
because other people now believe that you
yeah,
are that person. Yeah.
so you just put pressure on yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But probably this is your way of like everything that you just explained. This is your way of normalizing your life and building it more sustainable. So that's what I feel while I'm listening to you, right?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
So
What I'm getting from you is that you're prioritizing yourself,
mhm.
your wife, and then everything else.
Yep.
Because
It
yeah.
definitely takes a lot of um, experience, I think, or back and forth and research enough to do that. Like I have a shiny object syndrome. And I have a lot of ideas. If an idea pop out, I want to pursue that right away. But then, from what I learned through reading and having conversation with people that I respect, and my wife, is that you read once you I have an I'm the type of person that have an idea, I want to pursue it, right? Once I have an idea, write it down, think about it for a few days, and see if it's connected to if it would bring you closer to your North Star, whatever your North Star might be. It might be family, it might be career, it might be a season in the year. See if it's connected there. And if it's not, don't follow it, or just put it in the back burner. So that's what I've been doing lately. Not that it's easy to have that formula, it's still hard. Like there's still a million things I wanted to do, but unfortunately we're limited with time. So if there's one thing that I want to be reach with is time more than money. Because I wish I have 48 hours in a day at least. So
Yeah, I think we all do.
I know.
And I only have one more question.
Yeah.
And this is the last question that I ask from everyone.
Okay.
And this is how it goes. What success meant to you when you were 20? And how do you define success now?
That's good. Oh, interesting. I think success for me in my 20s is definitely very different from success to me what it is now. In my 20s, for me, success is based on material things. Owning this, owning that, hanging out with the right people, um, having an influence anywhere I go. That was success to me in my 20s. I think for me, success now is enjoying the simple things in life. Like for me, having financial freedom doesn't mean I own a Lamborghini or drive a Lamborghini. Not that nothing's wrong with that if that's what someone wants. For me, having financial freedom means I can travel whenever I want. I can choose not to work whenever I want. I can be with my family whenever I want, and or whenever they need me. For me, that is success. Success is being content, I think, and I think you'll ever be content in the material things that the world can offer. Um, yeah, most things that bring happiness in my life are things that I can't buy. Like it might be me. I don't know how to ski, so and I just went to cross country skiing a few weekends ago. I was very happy doing it. It cost me $35. It's probably I would say my highlight for March. It's as simple as me falling in while cross country skiing. It's really the experience that you get. And unfortunately, growing up, because I grew up in a third world country and have a passport that can go anywhere, I haven't really traveled. And it's really one thing that I look forward to, is to travel more this year, to meet more strangers, to try to reinvent myself and to find myself in pieces that I can find from others. Um, yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, really. So appreciate it.